Hi rabbits, Research Turtle here. Today we are going to discuss a fundamental shift in how we discover and develop medicines. We're moving away from the era of observation and into the era of prediction. Welcome to the In Silico Revolution. To understand why this revolution is necessary, we must look at the structural crisis facing our industry. You are likely familiar with Moore's law in technology, where efficiency doubles periodically. In pharma, we face the opposite, Eroom's law. Despite massive technological advances, the cost to develop a new drug has doubled roughly every 9 years. We are seeing costs skyrocket while success rates decline. This is the billion-dollar problem that model-informed drug development, or MIID, was built to solve. Historically, drug development was a process of trial and error. We tested hypotheses physically, often failing late in the process. MIID represents a paradigm shift to predict and confirm. By integrating physiological, pharmacological, and statistical models, and now boosting them with AI and machine learning, we can simulate outcomes before a single patient is dosed. We are moving from physical experimentation to virtual prediction. This isn't just about scientific elegance, it is an economic engine. The data is compelling. Systematic application of MIID can shorten development timelines by 10 months to 2 years. In terms of direct R&D expenditures, we're looking at cost reductions of $30 million to $70 million per program. When you consider the portfolio effect, the ROI is undeniable. How do we achieve these savings? There are 3 core mechanisms. Waiver of clinical trials. We can use PBPK, physiologically based pharmacokinetic modeling, to replace costly drug-drug interaction studies. One waiver alone can save millions and 6 months of time. Dose optimization. We simulate thousands of scenarios to find the perfect dose, maximizing our probability of success in Phase 3. Extrapolation. We can use adult data to model pediatric responses, allowing us to expand into pediatric indications without conducting massive separate trials. Let's look at a ground truth example, BMS's nivolumab, Opdivo. Originally, the drug required complex weight-based dosing, mg per kg, which was inefficient and wasteful. BMS wanted to switch to a fixed, flat dose, but running a new clinical trial to prove it would have been incredibly expensive. Instead, they used population PK modeling on existing data from 3,800 patients. The result? The FDA and EMA approved the new dosing regimen, solely based on the modeling data. No new trial was needed. This saved hundreds of millions of dollars. Another example is the development of Pfizer's Paxlovid during the pandemic. Speed was everything. MIID was critical in 3 areas. Duration. Models determined the optimal 5-day treatment course. Interactions. PBPK simulations managed the complex interactions caused by the ritonavir booster. Renal impairment. There was no time for a renal impairment trial. Models predicted the necessary dose reduction for kidney patients, which went straight into the emergency use authorization label. This approach has full regulatory backing. The FDA is leading with its paired meeting pilot program, explicitly encouraging simulation. The EMA is qualifying new methods like digital twins, and China's NMPA is aggressively adopting these standards to modernize its industry. Most importantly, the upcoming ICH M15 guideline, expected 2025 to 2026, will harmonize these standards globally. Soon, a single modeling report will satisfy regulators in the US, Europe, Japan, and China simultaneously. Who are the players driving this market? On the left, we have the incumbents, Certara and Simulations Plus. They own the standard platforms, Phoenix, GastroPlus, and have deep data moats that are hard to cross. On the right, we see the AI-native disruptors, companies like Schrödinger, physics-based modeling, and In Silico Medicine, are changing the game, and Unlearn.ai is pioneering the use of digital twins to reduce clinical trial sizes. However, we must also be aware of the geopolitical context. MIID has become a battlefield. The U.S. is restricting exports of high-performance GPUs, which limits the ability of Chinese firms to train massive biological models. The Biosecure Act is forcing a separation of supply chains. In response, China is pursuing import substitution, investing heavily in domestic champions like XDLP to reduce reliance on Western software. Looking ahead, the next frontier is the digital twin. Technology from companies like Unlearn.ai creates a prognostic digital twin for every trial participant based on past data. This allows us to run twin RCTs with smaller control arms. The EMA has qualified this methodology, and it can reduce trial costs by over 30%. Where does all this lead? To the fully in silico clinical trial. Currently, we use this for things like bioequivalence, but regulators like the UK's MHRA are already exploring sandboxes to test fully virtual trials for label expansion. We are paving the way for a future where we move from bench to bedside entirely on a computer. In conclusion, here are the 3 non-negotiable truths for the industry. The economic case is closed. MIID is the most reliable tool to defend R&D budgets. Regulatory path is clear. With ICH M15, this is becoming a prerequisite for global market access. Data is the new moat. The companies that possess the deep proprietary data to train these models will dominate the landscape. For investors and partners, the landscape offers distinct opportunities. Core infrastructure, Certara and Simulations Plus, offers stability and recurring revenue. High-growth disruption, Schrödinger and In Silico Medicine offer high-risk but high-reward through their internal pipelines. Regional champions, XDLP is poised to dominate the massive Chinese market with government backing. The In Silico Revolution is not coming, it is already here. The question is no longer if your organization will embrace predictive R&D, but how quickly you will lead. That's it for today. Turtle out.